ensuring that people have an opportunity at the bigger piece of the pie. And so those anchors is the airport. It's the city of Jackson. It's Jackson State University. It's Jackson Public Schools. Those four groups control a lot of economic empowering opportunities. And so we just got to think more collectively about how we empower folks to be a part of that and to move them into that arena.
I wanted to go back. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I just want to add something to the issue about the hiring issues. Right now, we have too much of a push that everybody's got to be college bound. I know that sounds crazy. Everyone's like, oh Lord, she says people shouldn't go to college. Everybody is not college material. Everybody does not want what that means, because let's be honest, a bachelor's means absolutely nothing. So when you tell me you want to go to college, you're really telling me that you're planning to go all the way to law school, at least a master's, getting a doctorate, going to medical school. That's what you're telling me, or you will be eating ramen noodles the rest of your life. So if that's not your dedication, and if that's not your interest, there's a whole, I tell people all the time, my opponent makes more money than I do as an hour as an attorney. I mean, seriously. So there's got to be a bigger push also for trade schools. Now, there was a bill that we did. I was one of the sponsors on it, and it still has not gotten to the point I want it to be. But we do have more high schools now across the state that have what we call dual enrollment, which means when they finish from high school, they have either just about finished at least the 2 years credit at a Hines or a Holmes, and also have some type of certification for trade school, whether it's HVAC or plumbing or mechanics. That is huge. That is built-in work set, built-in skills, licensed. That's somebody at 18 right now can go to job for beyond a living wage. Now that needs to be everywhere. That needs to be everywhere. So that's some of our issues that we're not training everybody to be a part. Like I know you do a lot with the CDLs. You know, we try to do a quicker cut rate path for people to get CDLs easier. But it's a fine balance, because yes, we want to say, I want you to go to college, but we need to have more of that but discussion. Because if that is not you, and if you are not going to be dedicated to at least 6 to 8 to 10 years, then let's look at this. Because I still think everybody deserves to be able to have beyond a living wage. They really should. And when you have those type of skills, you can still have a really good life. But I think because what happens is if you're not that type of a student, then when you get to Jackson State, you're not going to make it past the first year. And then you do nothing hardly. Absolutely nothing.
Okay. I wanted to go back to something Dr. Perkins said, and I want to say it in a way that it doesn't contradict what my legislator just said as well. Back in the mid-90s, when we were dealing with the Ayers case, and one of the things that we did as a faculty senate was to come up with an inventory, just looking at other urban areas, and say, well, what kind of things are needed in urban areas in terms of work and skills?
Right.
And so we tried to parcel out and say, oh, well, if they don't have it here in Jackson, Jackson State needs this program. If we don't have it in Jackson, then maybe Utica Junior College needs to have this. We got enough folks who got the brain power, whatever, to look at urban areas and figure out what it is they need. And then we provide the training at Jackson State, at Utica. And I keep saying Utica because some of you know that's Hines Community College, Utica campus. I keep saying Utica because I'm hoping it's going to come back and be independent one of these days. But that's what we have to do. We have to begin, and I like the term you use about aligning. We don't need to just educate folk in mass. We need to figure out what are the trends in terms of employment in the future, and then push that at this institution, push this again. And the other point that you made, one of the handicaps that Jackson State has suffered from is that often they would train people, but then they don't have any way to do an internship to actually learn how to do this on the job. And therefore, when they get to you, as you said, Madam Chair, when they get to you, they got a degree, but they can't really just do what you need them to do tomorrow. And that's often because it's difficult for them to get
Jackson State and what's happened over the past few years, you will see us transitioning more from education into CSAT. You're starting to see that development, the Jackson State transition in just the number of graduates. If you attend our graduations, you can see the number of students that we graduate in the area of science, engineering, and technology. That's one point. The other point is this, and I want to put this, and I have to do this very diplomatically, is that Jackson State is not specifically training individuals for the city of Jackson. It is training individuals for a global environment, for students that are working around the world in multitudes of professions. So there is some specific knowledge that you can only get by being on the job. For instance, my degrees my bachelor's degree is in mathematics. My master's degree is in manufacturing management. And my PhD degree is in public policy and administration. When I went to work for GM with my math degree, they had the resources to train me to become the engineer that they needed. And so what happens is a lot of these companies, yours and mine, we have to have enough resources to invest in training individuals to become the employees that we need for them to be. A lot of the companies now are importing all the technical expertise they need because they're not willing to invest in taking an individual that we trained in education, training them into writing code for Java and some of the other programs. But Jackson State is responding. And lastly, one more point up, since Jackson State did come up, and I have to defend my ground.
That's right, that's right.
It's our engine, it's our engine.
If you look
Off
at
of it.
I sat on the commission that oversaw the parkways being developed around the city of Jackson. I also sat on the advisement team for Jackson State's Community Urban Development Program. Jackson State owns many of the parcels of land that's around the parkway. The problem with that is that there are many parcels of land they don't own. And you can't do anything with it until you can consolidate. The ownerships of those parcels of land are absentee landlords who also see a vision for Jackson, that same vision that the mayor sees. Except for they're gonna hold on to theirs until the profit gets to a point that it's worth. So that's the issue. I've seen the maps. Jackson State has a vision. And Dr. Phillips was part of this vision. There was a vision for Jackson State to run from Highway 80 to downtown. It was there when you were there. The problems that they've had implementing it is actually acquiring the land. When Mayor Johnson was here, there was something called a quick deed or something, I cannot remember exactly.
Quick deed.
My goodness, it was a political firestorm. And so, many of the ideas, as Mary Yarber has pointed out, is that they're really offering a whole lot of, maybe some ways that we can implement some of the things that we've had on the table in the past.
Let me just say something it's gonna be real brief, maybe quickly about the quick take, and it goes back to what I believe most of us, I think, have pretty much said is that the vision, all of us have to buy into it. No one's gonna get all or nothing. So when it comes to quick take, and it comes to revitalizing areas, no, I don't agree that we need to go into lower income areas and make them all condominiums that cost $100,000 and more to be there. But there's gotta be some go-between. If it's like you said, for the engine, the caboose to the coming for Jackson State, then maybe we need to go and say, you know what, we need this property. But it would take the community getting behind that and saying, for this instance, we need to be on board, okay? We need to really make sure that we have this property here for this school to grow. It's, you know, I think we get caught up with, I want all my vision and none of yours, and vice versa. And we have to do both. We can't just, you know, because I know then we get into the political stuff is, oh, you're taking poor people's property, oh, you know, you're displacing. And I understand that, and I would never agree to a plan that completely does that. But there are some instances to where we have to say, this is what's better. Every other school does it. You know, my undergrad is Mississippi State. Where Mississippi State said that was not in the greatest part of town. The way state has grown since I finished in what, 92 from Mississippi State? It is an entirely different campus now. But it's because people came in, and these were individuals, some of them were even in trailer parks, and said, this is our school. This school has got to grow. And this is gonna grow this economy. So we're all gonna be on board with this. And we're gonna help these people wherever they are to try to get somewhere. But we're not going to not let our flagship grow and our economy grow. And that's what we have to do. And that's real hard to try to get our community to understand. I mean, am I making sense? You see what I'm saying? We have to have a balancing act when it comes to growth sometimes.
You know,
That's huge effort. That's the kind of vision. It needs to be well structured, coordinated, that we're talking about. When you get that kind of vision, you will have a kind of social future power, because you can show, and let's take the personal money out of it. You know, this is a social, moral, educational vision for Jackson. And it's a volunteer organization. It's gotta be driven by something, but it's a volunteer organization. That's what it will take. Otherwise, self-interest will,
We're gonna let the mayor come in, then we're gonna get some folks in the audience involved too.
Well, I wanted to tie my comment into this question about revitalization of education. You know, I question whether or not there is real, genuine desire for change. Because I don't think people really understand what change calls for. So change doesn't, you know, you can't ask for change and then not be willing to give something up. It goes back to my concern for the church. Everybody wants to be rich, but nobody wants to give more than $2 in the offering. All right, so there's got to be this exchange that happens at some. So I'm concerned, but not only am I concerned about that, but I'm concerned about who we think should be leading the change. And I've said this in different arenas, but I'm absolutely concerned about the indictment on black leadership. In Memphis, they've changed mayors. I met with some folks who worked for the former mayor, and when I met them, they loved everything about him. Everything he was doing was perfect.
Yep.
The new mayor has come, and now he's changing stuff. Here were their words in the hallway. He let everybody know he's in charge. And I said to myself, I remember when this mayor became mayor, and he attempted to assert himself, the old mayor,
Right.
there were issues with the way that he was trying to bring about change. And now you got a group of people who are glad to see this change taking place, even at the cost of the things that they have worked to build. And I'm trying to make a quick point, because my burden is that I remember an article that I saw. You talked about Mayor Johnson. I have a lot of respect for Mayor Johnson.